Thank you very much. We would like to, I'm Stephen Onwona Adjapong, presenting on behalf of Beatrice Akosua Adjapong, my co-author, and both from the University of Professional Studies, Accra, that's Ghana. And our topic is the nexus between sustainable brand equity and behavioral outcomes, the moderating role of age. This is the presentation outline. And because of this entire, we would like to continue. So this is by way of introduction. The issue of sustainable environmental sustainability is a subject of global concern in recent times, especially when you look at the increasing adverse effect of unsustainable practices. Then the agency for us to get an appropriate measure to deal with this menace becomes so urgent. A number of research has been done in environmental sustainability, and conferences such as ROGE-2025, CBER, etc., are all talking about sustainability issues. All these things are done just to get the issue addressed, the issue of this environmental issue. However, it seems majority of these measures and strategies that are coming up are industry or firm-centered. Hence, the need for a consumer-focused approach, which to aim at a deliberate creation of a responsible consumer behavior. So that becomes our main statement of the problem, the need for us to create what consumers who will be responsible. So as I've already said, by way of literature and the gap creation, a number of work has been done. So something on the eco-labeling, eco-innovation, circular economy, environmental laws and policies, antecedents of purchasing intention of sustainable commodities or products. All these things are there in literature. However, the prediction of specific behavioral outcomes to predict by sustainable brand equity with age as a moderator seems to be lacking. Therefore, hello.
I was presenting upstairs in that cabin.
Please, can you hear me?
Sorry?
Please, am I audible? Hello? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, please continue.
Okay. So our paper seeks to complement literature on this identified gap by empirically testing the relationship between sustainable brand equity and the behavioral outcomes that have been identified. In addition, the paper seeks to contribute to management on how the moderating age or moderating effect of age will be used to strategize in the marketing of sustainable products. Our aims and objectives. Specifically, we're looking at the following. One, to determine the effects of overall sustainable brand equity on the willingness of consumers to pay price premium for sustainable brands. Determine the impact of overall sustainable brand equity on word-of-mouth recommendations from consumers of sustainable brands. And find out how age moderates the influence of overall sustainable brand equity on price premium payments. And finally, find out how age moderates the influence of overall sustainable brand on word-of-mouth recommendations. So this is by way of a conceptual model. We are using the brand equity as the main theory, but specifically we are looking at Akosua model, where is customer-based brand equity. He mentioned 5 main dimensions, but we are concentrating on the customer. Therefore, we are looking at the brand awareness, brand association, perceived brand equity, and brand loyalty. But this model is trying to use the second order constructs. So we are using the overall effects of these dimensions to predict the price premium payments and the word of mouth recommendation with age as moderator. So that is it. Our research question, therefore, is we have two main research questions. How does the overall sustainable brand equity affect the behavioral outcomes of price premium payments and word of mouth recommendation? And secondly, out of this first research question, we have two main hypotheses. Overall sustainable brand equity positively influence price premium payments, and H2 is overall sustainable brand equity positively influences the word of mouth recommendation. The second research question goes like, how does the demographic variable of age moderate the influence of the overall sustainable brand equity and the outcome variables of price premium payments and word of mouth recommendations? And out of these two hypotheses are age moderates, that's H3A. Age moderates the relationship between sustainable brand equity and price premium payments, such that the influence is stronger for younger consumers than for older ones. And the second one, age moderates the relationship between sustainable brand equity and word of mouth recommendations, such that the influence is stronger for younger consumers than for older ones. The methodology, as we can see, is a quantitative cross-sectional survey that was employed. Self-administered questionnaire were used for a sample of 793 respondents. The research instruments were adopted from literature, measured on a 5-point Likert scale. Systematic random sampling technique was employed to collect data from 4 shopping malls in Ghana. Participants were asked to complete a consent form to obtain their consent to participate in the study. Confidentiality and anonymity of participants were assured, demonstrating their willingness to participate in the study without coercion or duress. Structural equation modeling with IBM EMOS version 23 was applied to analyze the data. So statistical data analysis, responses of background information, assessment of model fit, etc. All these things were conducted, but for time's sake, let's concentrate on the hypothesis and see the results. So this is a diagrammatic diagram of what the results look. So since we are using the second order, the overall sustainable brand equity has a direct effect on price premium payments, which gave a value of 0.16 approximately. Then that of the word of mouth recommendation, 0.61. So based on the results of the data analysis, positive and significant relationship exists between overall sustainable brand equity and price premium payments, as the figures suggest. Hence, H1, the first hypothesis, was supported by the empirical data. The second hypothesis, H2, revealed a progressive and noteworthy relationship between overall brand equity and word of mouth recommendations. And here too, as the figures indicates, it suggests that the second hypothesis was also supported. And when we go to the moderating testing, we use the multi-group system and an examination of the partially constrained model, path by path analysis, the age on the relationship between overall sustainable brand equity and price premium payments showed a significant chi-square value of 197.38. So when we divide it by the degree of freedom, we saw that it is significant. Hence, H3A was supported. But H3B was not supported because the ratio was not significant. So contribution. Theoretically, the study contributes to knowledge in sustainable consumption by introducing a conceptual model that portrays sustainable brand equity as an antecedent of consumers' behavioral outcome. It contributes to the sustainable marketing literature by using behavioral outcomes of what? Price premium payment and word of mouth recommendation, as opposed to intentions. Moreover, the employment of age to moderate the nexus between the overall sustainable brand equity and the behavioral outcomes is a contribution to knowledge. Age moderates the relationship between overall sustainable brand equity and price premium payments. Therefore, it is suggested that brand managers employ more interactive communication channels to reach out to the youth. Limitations of the study. The selected green or sustainable products for the study were limited to 4 sustainable options: energy savings electric bulb, energy savings refrigerators, organic foods, and natural health products. Future studies may consider other sustainable products such as fast-moving consumer goods, green vehicles, and environmentally friendly domestic cleaning products, among others. The study was also limited to respondents from Ghana only. Hence, other areas within the sub-region, sub-Saharan African countries, such as the Gambia, Liberia, Nigeria, and other developing countries could be considered in future studies. By way of conclusion, the study's findings reveal that overall sustainable brand equity has a positive and significant influence on the behavioral outcomes of price premium payments and word-of-mouth recommendations. The influence on word-of-mouth recommendations suggests that consumers with high equity towards a specific sustainable brand are motivated to share information. Excuse me. And the readiness to compensate for the premium-priced sustainable products are encouraging signals for sustainable marketing in an emerging marketing like Ghana, a sub-Saharan African country, and other developing countries. As we are all aware, the commodities which are not sustainable are relatively low in price, or their price are not premium priced. They have lower price. So if this is a signal, then we need to note that. And last but not the least, brand managers are encouraged to employ more interactive communication channels, reach out to the youth. So these are my references. Thank you very much.